Shalom, family, and welcome back to the Semitic Jew channel, where we read the New Testament as our ethnic ongoing covenant story, and not as the invention of a new religion that we call Christianity. Today, we're looking at the Book of Philippians. Here's the irony of this book. Philippians is known as the letter of joy. However, Paul is writing this letter from prison. So if anyone ever tells you that your joy is contingent upon things like comfort, money, or freedom, Paul wrote this letter while he was locked up, chained to a European Idumean province, or capital, I should say, known as Rome, still smiling with his identity intact. Let's get into it. Number one, who were the Philippians? They were Israelites in a Roman colony. That's Philippians chapter 1. Philippi was a Roman military colony, heavy Roman identity, strong nationalism, and constant pressure to conform to their worldview. Now, Paul addresses these people who he's writing to as saints in Christ Jesus. That's Philippians chapter 1, verse 1. So once again, this language of saints is only addressing the people of Israel, our people. These weren't Roman converts or Europeans learning about God for the first time. These were Israelites living under Roman power, trying to remain faithful to God. Paul tells them something very powerful. He says, quote, "The things which happened unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel," end quote. The translation is this: Rome thought that they locked me up, but they accidentally spread our message even faster. Sometimes captivity doesn't stop the mission, it just helps enhance that mission. Number two, joy is not circumstance, it's covenant. That's Philippians chapter 1 also. Paul says repeatedly, rejoice. And you can almost hear someone saying to him, Paul, you're in jail. And Paul's response is, so what? I don't care if I'm in jail. I'm still going to rejoice. So his joy isn't based on things like freedom, comfort, approval, or anything like that. Even Roman kindness, it's based on knowing Israel's covenant promises still stands, even under an Idumean empire. Number three, unity matters when Israel is surrounded. Unity matters when Israel is surrounded. That's Philippians chapter 2. Paul urges humility and unity. He says, quote, "Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory." Why? Because nothing destroys us faster than internal division. And Paul has already seen that in Corinth. Then he gives one of the most quoted passages of all time. He says, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus." So this isn't some abstract theological concept. It is a survival strategy. Israel, or we, cannot afford any ego wars while living under Idumean rule. Number four, the Messiah's humility is Israel's model. That's Philippians chapter 2. So Paul explains that the Messiah humbled himself, that the Messiah also served, that the Messiah also endured suffering, and was later exalted. So Paul's point is simple. If Israel's king humbled himself under oppression, why do we think humility is weakness? The spoiler is it is not. Number five, beware of false confidence. That's Philippians chapter 3. So Paul then turns to sarcasm, if you will, but a respectful form of sarcasm, not the ones that can be detrimental to someone's hearing. He lists his credentials. He says that I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. In other words, he's saying I'm black. And then he says tribe of Benjamin. Then he says he's a Pharisee. He's a law keeper. Then he follows up by saying, I count it all as dung. Now, he's not saying that those things don't matter. That's Paul's way of saying that if anyone can flex their credentials, it's me. But I'm not going to. What's his point? His point is identity without faithfulness means nothing. We are Israelites. That is a fact. But are we truly obeying God and renouncing this culture? So pride without obedience gets us nowhere. Number 6, citizenship matters, and Paul uses it on purpose. Philippians chapter 3. Here's one of the most misunderstood verses in all of Paul's work. He says, quote, our citizenship is in heaven. Now, let's say what this does not mean that we are floating away or that our ethnicity doesn't matter or that God has abandoned our nation collectively, or he's not even saying that the earth doesn't matter. Paul is using Roman language against Rome, or he's using Idumean language against itself. He's saying that these people value citizenship above everything. Paul is saying you may live in a Roman colony, but your true allegiance, your true ethnicity is to God's kingdom. In other words, don't let Rome tell you who you are. You are an Israelite. You are from the 12 tribes of Israel, and that matters to God. Number 7, contentment under captivity. That's Philippians chapter 4. Paul says, quote, I have learned in whatever state I am, therefore to be content, end quote. Now, this isn't some passive acceptance. This is spiritual discipline. And yes, this is where the famous line appears, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Now, again, Paul is not talking about winning races or lifting weights or anything like that. He's talking about enduring captivity, enduring colonization without losing faith. That is real strength. Here's the closing message of this book. Philippians teaches Israel, our people, how to remain faithful under this oppression and how to stay united under colonization, under a pressure from the culture that we live in order to resist their cultural dominance and ultimately reject this false confidence that comes with it. We need to remember our covenant identity and endure captivity without despair. Philippians proves that joy is not some situational joy. It's covenant rooted. It's rooted in God. If this teaching brought clarity, encouragement, and even insight into your heart and mind, please like, share, and subscribe. It's very important that you continue to support Black content creators because our voices tend to be more marginalized than any other voices on this earth. And so a simple like, share, and subscribe will suffice. We're not asking for any type of monetary fund. Just like, share, and subscribe, and that will bring joy to my heart. In the next episode, the book of Colossians. This is how we, Israel, should guard ourselves against the philosophy of men and their false authority. Shalom, Israel, and I'll see you in the next one.